At this time, I'd like to call the special study session meeting of the City Council Housing Authority and Successor Agency to the Redevelopment Agency to order. I think many of you are familiar that since COVID-19, there has been a change in terms of how we are executing our meetings through virtual, and those will continue as long as we continue to have county order on COVID-19. And at this time, and just so you know that we're all remote, we're all in different parts, whether it's at City Hall, in our offices, or at home. So with that said, I'd like to ask Councilmember Preciado to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, if everybody could please take a moment to rise, put your right hand over your heart, and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone.
Rosalie, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gonzalez. Councilmember Preciado.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Ontiveros Cole. Councilmember Lustro.
Here.
Councilmember Torres. Mayor Sandoval.
Here. Okay, so the item that we're all here for is item number 1. And just before you read it, Rosalie, this is, I know that the community has had a lot of questions and concerns, and wanted to bring this to you so that you had the information that you needed to make a good, sound decision. Certainly, we'll have a presentation that hopefully answers a number of your questions, but if the presentation does not, we certainly welcome questions from you, the public. With that said, Rosalie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. First item on tonight's agenda is the presentation and discussion of the Pomona Choice Energy.
Okay, and so I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris, and then you lead the way, and then we'll go from there.
Well, thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so again, thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm going to provide some information on the Pomona Choice Energy, the city's CCA, and explain a little bit what a CCA is and what the benefits are to the community here. So first, of course, what is a CCA and what is PCE? And this is straight out of some literature I found. In several places you'll see some literature in addition to coming right out of AB 117. But a CCA is a community choice aggregator, is an alternative to an investor-owned utility energy supplier in which local governments aggregate the buying power of customers in order to secure energy supply contracts with the goal of lowering costs to customers and to offer green power alternatives. So basically what that is the city has joined a JPA. I'll explain that in a second. We've joined a group of other cities to create its own little government agency, referred to as a JPA, with the sole purpose of buying energy off the energy markets, and then having that energy later then supplied to Edison, and Edison then does the delivery. This was made possible by AB 117 that was enacted in 2002. And Pomona Choice Energy, which is the city's CCA, is, well, just that, Pomona Choice Energy. So why did Pomona create a CCA? First and foremost, to provide a rate reduction to customers. We anticipate the rate reduction to be approximately 3 cents or 3% off of the energy portion of their bill, that energy component. Edison, there's 2 components right now. One is the energy component and one is the delivery. The CCA is in connection purely with the energy production component. Also to create a revenue stream to support the city's climate action plan. That was initially some time ago what the city council had determined. And to provide alternative energy products that customers can choose. And the 3 little logos that you see below there are off of the Pomona Choice Energy website. And Pomona Choice is what everyone is automatically enrolled into, which is very consistent with what Edison is providing now. Pomona Choice 100 would be 100 renewable or 100% renewable energy. And then Pomona Solar Choice would be for those customers who are using solar power. This is the 14th time that staff has brought an item to council in relation to the CCA and the establishment of Pomona Choice Energy. Noteworthy in that is in March 4th, 2019 was the creation of the CCA. April 15th of last year, we joined Cal Choice. That is, again, the JPA that the city is a member of to purchase power. And then finally, the rate setting that the council took action on, which was July 6th of this year. Obviously, I'm not going to go through these items, but these are all of the subjects of all of those 14 different items. And you can see all the dates dating back to February of 2018. So it's been a long road. There's been many, many times that staff has been in front of the council. And so some of the questions we've received is why was I opted in? Well, AB 1700, or AB 117, this language is exactly out of that legislation verbatim. And we cut down to the bottom here, we can basically see that if no negative declaration is made by a customer, then all customers are automatically enrolled into the program. The legislation also states that the notices that are sent to the public that they shall be automatically enrolled, and a customer has to opt out. And so that's been a question, why was I automatically put into this program? And yeah, as you can see right there, straight out of AB 117, that's because the city is complying with the law. So if I opt out, can I opt back in? That's a question we've heard too, and the answer is yes, you can. However, if you opt out, and we are after the 60-day launch period, which starts October 1st, then there is a 1-year waiting term, and Edison charges a whopping 50-cent fee to opt back in. However, it's noteworthy that customers do have to provide a 6 months notice that they want to join back in to the program. If you opt, okay. And you can see really there's no, well, for opting out, there is no charge to opt out of the program. And if you've already opted out because the program hasn't started, you can change your decision and opt back in. So if I am a Pomona Choice Energy customer, am I still an SCE customer? And the answer quite simply is yes, all Pomona Choice customers are SCE customers. Edison will still be providing your bill to you. On that bill, you will have 2 account numbers. One account number is for Edison and the other one is for Pomona Choice Energy. Edison is still the supplier of the power from where the power is generated to your service. They will continue to provide you your energy bill, even after you're our customer, and they will continue to answer all of your customer service questions relating to power outages, things of that nature. And another question we've received numerous times is, will I continue to receive the benefits from the CARE program, level pay, air conditioning, the discounts for having your air conditioning be able to turn off? And the answer to those is yes. You will automatically, those automatically transfer over, so you'll see no change in service in any types of those benefits that you're currently receiving. So one of the big points that we're having to address with the initiation of the CCA is what's called an exit fee. As Edison already has numerous power contracts that they've entered into with generators, Pomona Choice Energy is required to pay that exit fee. Basically, it's like an early termination fee. And right now that termination fee is approximately $8.5 million per year. And that number drops off by approximately $230,000 per year. And why are we required to pay that fee, the Pomona Choice Energy? Because the PUC has made that determination. And so how will an individual's bill change? A couple of small nuances in there. There is a surcharge from the DWR, Department of Water Resources bond charge, and there are some exit fees, as I mentioned. The DWR fee is being moved out of, I think you can see my cursor moving. It's being moved out of the SCE delivery rate at 13 cents. And if you see in the Pomona Choice Energy, it's only 12.5 cents. That number is being brought down here into a surcharge the surcharge for the DWR fee and the exit fee. And so the bills will be identical for SCE and Pomona because the rates were established to match Edison's rate at this time. So the discount, as you can see here, is at 3.4 cents. That again, that discount is paying the DWR bond and the exit fees. And so that's given the difference in the rates of 9.6 cents and 6.7 cents, that's where the gap is being bridged there. Okay, and when will we see a bill reduction? City Council will establish the Pomona Choice Energy rates every single year. Rate reductions will be based on the savings PCE achieved through energy purchases. And as exit fees are eliminated at that $230,000 a year, there's more revenue coming into the program. And so that will allow for a discount to be supplied to our customers and to provide the benefits that I covered initially. And so based on the price difference between Edison and PCE, the exit fees, PC and PC operate Pomona Choice Energy operations fees. And with that, I think that sums it up. And of course, I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Chris, I believe there's some questions in the Q&A that we might be able to answer right away.
Okay.
So, Chris, I'll go ahead and read them, and then you can answer them. And then I'm sure perhaps folks have more questions. So question number one is, who will be in charge of PCE, Pomona Choice Energy? Is it the city or an outside company?
So the Pomona Choice Energy is run by the city of Pomona. It's you, the council, are establishing the policies within PCE, and of course, at your direction, staff takes care of the day-to-day operations of that. Additionally, as I mentioned, we are a member of that JPA CalChoice, and CalChoice takes care of a lot of the purchasing and quite a bit actually of the customer service calls that we might also receive. But in short answer, it would be the city of Pomona. Okay,
great. The second question I have here is can we opt out at any time without charge?
The answer to that, yes, you can opt out at any point.
Okay. Next question is, so if we pay millions, how are we saving money and how do we afford it?
Well, we're not actually paying millions. What we're paying for is the power that is delivered to the Pomona Choice Energy customers. The discount is in, as you saw in that last slide I showed, rounding here, Edison charges 9 cents per kilowatt hour and Pomona Choice Energy charges 6 cents per kilowatt hour. That 3 cent difference there, which is basically 1/3 of the energy cost there, is the savings and goes into Pomona Choice Energy. Initially, we'll be paying those exit fees, but as those exit fees drop off, those excess revenues will be given back to the customers and will be at the discretion of the council.
Okay. I see the question about what is the benefit of moving to Pomona Choice. I see that several times appearing. So if you asked a similar question, I'm not going to repeat that question, but can you just reiterate some of the benefits of moving to Pomona Choice?
Yes, the benefits, I'll make it 2 or 3-fold. The first is you will be receiving a rate reduction in time. And that rate reduction theoretically could increase as the exit fees start to terminate. Secondly, you get to choose what type of power you want. If you want to purchase a more green power, you have the option to do that. And thirdly, a portion of the savings is returned to the city so that the city can put benefit to the community through different types of programs the council may choose.
Okay. And the question is asked, is this being recorded so that we could share it on our website? I don't recall if we're recording this.
I see the record light on, so I'm going to assume so.
Okay, yeah, I don't see it on my end, but okay. And so I'd like to just say, ask staff if we can make sure that this presentation be made available to the public via our website and any social media that we can share on. Okay.
Yes,
all
sir.
right. And forgive me, Council, if I forget any question or I pass a question, and Chris, I'm just going to read this to you. Question came up already about the advantages. Oh, okay. Question here is, what other cities have adopted this type of power company? What have their experiences been?
Well, there are a number of cities. I want to say it's roughly 15 cities, plus or minus. There's also been, I think it's 7 different states that do it. The benefits really depend on what their predecessor power utility that they're receiving their power from was. Some are seeing a benefit of 2 to 3% reduction in fees, and others are seeing up to 5%. So that's going to depend on what the fees, how they're buying their power, and what they were paying for their power. But all of them, to the best of my understanding, are providing a financial incentive to their customers to stay with their CCA.
Thank you. And a question here is, when do you foresee, I think I may have missed one here. Yeah, when do you foresee the savings reflected in our statements?
Initially, for this first term, the rates that Pomona Choice Energy are on par with Edison, so there would be 0 change in their bill in either direction. We'll be bringing the item back to council next year in probably July or maybe just a little before that. At that time, I would anticipate that there would be a savings to provide it to the community, and I would have to get the crystal ball out to actually see what that might actually look like.
Okay, thank you. What is the estimated exit fee paid in full date?
I don't have that. All I have is a 10-year estimate at this time. I've not seen that, but again, that number is roughly, it's 8.44 million the last time I saw it. And again, it drops off at about $230,000 per year. It may escalate further as we drop down, see it drop off more significantly as the years go, but I haven't yet seen that.
Okay. Question here, someone missed the visual on opting back in steps. Can you repeat that process if they decide to opt back in? So I assume that they opted out, they're with Edison, but they'd like to opt back in.
So up until, I'll say November 1st, which would be roughly 60 days after the launch of Pomona Choice Energy, they can opt back in and they seamlessly go back into the Pomona Choice Energy program. If they wait after that, there is a 1-year waiting period. They would be put on a list. They have to provide a 6 months notice to do so. And then they would be put back into the program.
Great, thank you. And how does one save money if one buys solar? Does one solar help lower rates overall by providing more energy?
The solar of the 3 different packages that are available, the first one, which I believe is a 35% renewable energy. The second one is 100% renewable energy. And then the solar program is different. That would be for a customer that has a solar panels. And so that would be a combination of the discounts that they may receive for already having solar constructed on their house.
And Chris, that program begins in 2021, October of 2021.
Okay.
Someone says they live in a congregate community. Is the community eligible to participate? And if the community acquires rooftop solar, will it be eligible for PCE, for Pomona Choice Energy Solar?
Yes.
I would just like to point out that I believe this resident is in Claremont. Would this cover Claremont residents, or is it just Pomona?
Just Pomona.
Okay. All right. An attendee asked a question. I didn't understand how it is that I'll be a customer of both SCE and PCE.
So there's 2 components of your energy bill. The first component is the actual electrons themselves, and that's produced at a power plant. The second portion is getting those moving electrons from that power plant to your residence, and that's the transmission and distribution. Edison will continue to own all power lines, power poles, transformers, anything that you see visually out there that is owned by Edison, they continue to own those assets. What changes is where Edison receives that power. And that is the decision that Pomona Choice Energy is making as to where we're actually receiving those electrons. So you're a customer of Edison's in that they are taking those electrons from that power plant and delivering them to your resident. And the second portion of the bill is those electrons themselves. And if you are in the program, that's where we come in, is we make that purchase.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I think we answered this question, but how exactly does one opt out of PCE?
Julie?
You can go to pomonachoiceenergy.org, and there is a form in there where you can opt out. You will need your Edison account number in order to finish the process of that.
I looked at that today. It's a pretty simple process. It's a single sheet, name, address, account number. Like she said, it's very easy.
You can also call and do it over the phone if you don't have access to a computer.
Okay. Good. Question is, why isn't the JPA information on the website? Which cities are partners? Who from the cities sit on that? Do they negotiate rates with SCE?
The JPA, well, we brought that to council a number of times, and every time that we're purchasing power, a contract is brought before the council. These things are very split-second decision type of things. So council will typically authorize the JPA to go find its best power rate. I'm sure the manager sees, and well, I know he sees these come through his office, and the responses are like, I need your answer within the next hour and a half in order to lock in certain things. So we can certainly provide more information on our website as to who all is involved in the JPA and a little bit more of the internal workings of that organization, if that's what the council desires.
Yeah, I think it's an important question. Which cities are our partners, and who from the cities sit on that JPA board, and how the rates are negotiated. Question here, is it true Edison will charge us to rejoin them after the 60-day window has passed? I heard it is as high as $250.
No, that fee is a 50-cent charge. As I said, you must give 6 months notice to get back in. So no, it is only 50 cents.
Okay. Our, let's see here. Okay. Question is, what percentage of Pomona residents have opted out of PCE Energy? And I understand as of now, it's about 2%.
Yes.
Okay. Any other local cities that are part of a JPA or have a PCE similar to Pomona?
Julie, I think you probably have those memorized a little better than I do.
The local cities around us, Claremont, the city of Claremont is part of the LA County CCAs, and Baldwin Park just joined the same time that we are. They're launching October 1st. Palmdale's on hold right now. You've got Pico Rivera, you got Lancaster, you have Apple Valley, you have, trying to remember them off the top of my head. I could put in the chat section the link to all the CalChoice CCAs that are in our area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So this question is, can you describe the different options in more detail? 35% carbon free, 100% and self-generated.
Yeah, those are listed also on the Pomona Choice Energy website, and there's 3 icons to select, and you have the 35%, which is basically what Edison is providing today, that is complying with the California regulations set by the PUC. And the second is 100% renewable energy. So that could be solar, wind, hydro, different sources that would be completely renewable sources.
Question is, you mentioned that the reduction would be dispersed at the council's discretion. Why wouldn't it be automatic?
The council is the governing board over Pomona Choice Energy, and this council has that discretion to choose how it decides to distribute those funds.
Okay. Does the potential cost savings return to the general fund?
Again, that would be a council decision. It is up to your discretion.
Okay. I would imagine the answer to this is potentially yes. Will we still have power outages from SCE even with you supplying us with power?
Yes, there is absolutely no change in either direction of the reliability. It gets very, very complex when you start talking about how the state runs the program and the power. It's very complex, but we've had a number of discussions, and the manager and I have discussed this to some degree also. And what we are being told from the experts that we have hired as part of the JPA is that there is no change.
And the next question is, how soon will I see this estimated reduction in cost?
Well, for this year, as I said, we're on par with Edison, and so it would be at the next rate setting next year,
Okay.
mid-year.
Good. All right. And I think the question about the benefit to the city of Pomona has been answered. Does it produce new revenue out of the savings? Are savings on future rates dependent on how many residents continue the automatic opt-in?
No.
Okay. Let me just make sure that I'm, okay, give me a moment. Is there any oversight by the Public Utilities Commission for this company?
To some degree, yes. As the council is aware, there's been a number of different items that staff has brought for your approval. These are all Public Utilities Commission requirements. However, the customer service and the rate setting portion, that is not subject to the Public Utilities Commission. That is set to this city council. But other functions are certainly still have to meet the requirements of the Public Utilities Commission.
Okay. Thank you. What if we opted out a few weeks ago, but now we would like to continue? Can we still join?
We'd love to have you back. Yes.
And they could just go online, or do they call, or?
Yes, they can go back online.
Question, is there a benefit to joining now versus waiting a year to see a difference?
I would say you might as well opt in simply because we are identical. I think that's certainly a safe bet. The rates have already been set for the next year, and we are identical to Edison. And if you were to choose to opt out at a later date, you could certainly do that. But that's completely up to each individual customer.
Okay. By the way, these are all really great questions. I'm learning a lot myself.
Mm-hmm.
The SCE, okay, question is, SCE has to bid on the energy that they purchase. If they have to pay more for their acquisition, will that cost be passed on to the customer?
Well, if they are an Edison customer, then the answer is yes. If Edison is paying more for power, realistically, that expense is being brought down to the customers. However, we are not commingling our purchasing power with Edison. We are commingling that with our JPA partners. And so we are buying through the JPA. We are a nonprofit. And so certainly right there, you can see a savings. There is a disconnect for sure by joining Pomona Choice Energy between how Edison purchases power and how Pomona Choice Energy purchases its power.
Okay. Question, will all the money saved be given back to customers in the way of rate reductions, or will some of the savings be used for sustainability programs in the community at large?
I would certainly think it's going to be a combination of the two, but again, that's at the discretion of the council.
Okay. Just, jumping around here a little bit, because as I'm reading these, they go out of order a little bit. So forgive me if I'm not as quick. Okay. Are PCE customers insulated from any rate increases that SCE may attempt to pass on to their Southern California Edison customers based on the impact of the wildfires on their infrastructure, or any penalties that the CPUC may levy against Edison?
I'm going to say that they are, that's a twofold question, and I'm going to break that into two pieces. They are insulated from any issues associated with purchasing power if you are a member of Pomona Choice Energy. However, as it relates to the transmission of that power, they would likely not be insulated from that because you are still a Southern California Edison customer as they distribute your power to you. So if it are those facilities that are causing the harm, you would likely still be have some type of association with the mitigation of whatever expenses are related to that.
Okay. All right. Is Pomona Choice Energy a flat rate and not a tiered rate like Southern California said? And by the way, there's an anonymous attendee that's asking several questions. Certainly we want to make sure that we answer all your questions, but we ask that people, to the best of their ability, please put your name. We want to make sure that we're mindful of everyone's time here. Okay. A question, if I already have solar, do I get opted into the solar program?
Any programs that you are opted into, you will remain opted into.
Okay. And of course, the question asked, will Edison still be able to cut off our power?
Yes.
Okay. And can we upgrade or change our energy option at any time?
I'm seeing Julie shake her head yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
The question that was asked about is Pomona Choice Energy flat rate versus a tiered rate like Edison. I don't think that got answered.
The residential rate is flat. You can see tier 1 and tier 2 for resident is the same exact price, and we are, again, identical to what Edison is charging.
Okay. All right. Question is, how will the city council determine the rate?
Well, staff will certainly make a recommendation to council based on the cost of power and operating the Pomona Choice Energy. But at the end of the day, that is a decision for the council to make.
Okay. And the question going back to the congregate community, which is actually Mount San Antonio Gardens, it happens that most of Mount San Antonio Gardens is in Pomona. And so the question relates to their community. So it says most of our electricity comes to the Pomona side of our campus from Southern California Edison. So I'd say maybe 2/3 or 3/4 of the campus is in Pomona and about a quarter or a third is in Claremont. Can they still participate?
Mayor, would you like me to repeat the original question?
Sure.
Okay, so the original question for Mount San Antonio Gardens is, I live in a congregate community. Is the community eligible to participate? If the community acquires rooftop solar, will it be eligible for PCE solar? That was the original question.
If this customer is maybe part in and part out, that's a bit of an anomaly. We can certainly, they can give us a call and we can see where they would fall into that. We'd be more than willing to help them out if they want to give us a call.
Okay.
I think it would be based on their mailing address. If it's a Pomona mailing address, they should be able to stay with the Pomona Choice.
Okay. Will any money the city gets back be reinvested in this program or be used for non-related programs?
A reinvestment in the program isn't really necessary in that we don't own any assets. So there wouldn't be a sinking fund for replacement of assets, wires, plants, things of that nature. We are in essence, you could maybe consider us a paper company in that we are buying power from one and having it delivered to another. So we're playing the middleman and buying that and being a non-profit middleman as opposed to a for-profit middleman.
Okay. Question is, how does the GRC fit into this decision?
GRC is a general rate case. If Edison's rates increase on the delivery side, then all customers would continue to see the upward or downward adjustment based on what the GRC, the judge determination is. But again, if you're a Pomona Choice Energy, your rates are established by this council, and in large part, that's going to be driven by the contracts that the JPA can establish through purchasing power.
Okay. I think this is probably an easy answer, but what will stop the council from raising rates to offset decreases in other budget areas?
Well, this is a standalone type of function, and that might be a bit of a legal question that maybe is beyond my depth, but I can't imagine that occurring.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be party to that. Question here is why did we not decide to join LA County like Claremont?
Julie, I know you have some history as to when that happened. I know it was the council made a decision to do that, and Julie, maybe you can put some meat on the bones there.
Yeah, we had several council meetings debating whether we should go with LA County versus going on our own. And it kind of went to having more local control of the revenue, being able to put all the money back into our community. Whereas if we were with LA County, we would be sharing it with all the other cities of LA County that were joining in that JPA.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
I knew it was a local control, but I didn't remember all the details.
Right. Will businesses be impacted in any way?
The same as residents, as they will get the benefits from a lower cost power.
Businesses are will be opting in small business and medium businesses in June of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. And will this change bring more jobs to the citizens of Pomona?
I wouldn't say that it would bring nor take away.
Okay. All righty. Give me a moment. Question on late fees. Is it true if you make a late payment, there's a heavy late fee?
Those late fees would be the late fees that you see within Edison, so there shouldn't be a change there.
Okay. All right. I'm sure the council may have some questions as well. I'll continue to read a few more here. All right. Question is, how often will the option of passing the savings to the customers come before the council? Is it quarterly? Is it once a year?
It could come at any time, but staff's recommendation would bring that annually when we would set rates.
Okay. And by the way, these are all really detailed. If you didn't have any idea about this program or how SCE works or Pomona Choice Energy, if you're like me, I've learned a lot just in this short time. How does this question, what will rates change based on peak hours as established by SCE?
Again, the rate right now for residential, there's two tiers and they're identical. So there's in essence one flat rate for residential, and we are identical to Edison.
Okay.
Mayor,
And I think, yes.
there's one gentleman who's anxious for his question. It's been asked a few times. He's not sure. He wants to know if it's the power generation fee that will be reduced and not the delivery fee. Is that correct?
That is correct. Power generation only.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I hope you don't mind. I went into teacher mode and I'm trying to do the questions as we go.
You need to see a hand.
Yeah, and just a question on, is every resident in Pomona automatically opted in? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Edison has rebates for solar customers. Will we have those as well?
Yes. Well, whatever the Edison programs are, they would roll over into Pomona Choice Energy.
Okay. Okay. I'm just looking at the questions. Some of these have been answered already.
What about, is this going to create a need for New York City
Give me a
staff?
second, Nora. I'm sorry, please. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Nora. I don't see any other questions that haven't been answered.
Is this going to create a need for more city staff?
No.
Okay. All right. I mean, all the other questions that I see are questions that I believe have been answered. If folks have questions for you and they want to reach out to you, can they email you? Can they call you? What would you prefer?
I'd be more than happy to respond to either calls or emails.
can you share that, Chris, with us so that folks can take note of it?
You got it.
And then, of course, I want to make sure that I give the council an opportunity. Maybe there's some questions that need clarification or answers that need clarification, or maybe you have some questions as well. And of course, this is just an information session, so we don't need to take any action on this item.
So Mayor, my direct number is 909-802-7412. So they can call and that's directly to my desk. And if they'd instead like to email me, that's Chris, CHRIS _Diggs, DIGGS, at ci.pomona.ca.us.
Okay.
And I'm typically pretty responsive. I try to get back the same day. That's certainly my goal.
Great. Okay. So what I thought I'd do is just give the council, if they want to put, if they have any comments to make or any questions. So let's start with you, Councilmember Preciado. Any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. Just want to thank Chris for giving us time and your entire team to ask these questions. Let me go ahead and move on and see if one of our colleagues has a question.
We have a very small group. It's in large part Julie and I, and she certainly is the workhorse of the group, and I get the majority of the credit, but please know that Julie has been working very, very hard on this, and I couldn't do it without her.
Thank you, Julie, on behalf of the council. Vice Mayor Garcia.
Hi, good evening. Well, first of all, congratulations. You all answered 65 questions. So I really appreciate your time, your knowledge. Extra kudos to Julie for being the brains behind the brawn. Thank you so much for your time. I honestly believe that any change is scary. I know that our residents are afraid of being overbilled, double billed, but at the end of the day, I believe that this is a good move for the city of Pomona, and that in the long run, we will be able to have more control over our what our residents are charged, where we get our energy from. And I think it's a good long-term plan, especially considering where we're heading in the next 20 or 30 years here in the state of California. So thank you very much, Director Diggs and Julie, for your work. We truly appreciate it. And again, 65 questions in the span of about an hour. It's unbelievable. Thank you so much for your work on this project. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Garcia. Appreciate it. And Councilmember Lustro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to thank Chris and Julie for coming on tonight and providing the public with this presentation. And as Vice Mayor Garcia said, hopefully answering many of the questions will help folks to make a decision one way or another, whatever their personal choice is. Pretty impressed by 75 members of the public logging into this webinar. I think that shows that there was a lot of interest in this program, but as we know, there were a lot of folks that had a lot of questions. I tried to post a summary of PCE as best as I could as a layperson and what I knew about it a couple weeks ago on social media platforms. And I know that I got a few questions, and I tried to answer them the best I could. But I know over the last couple of days, I've recommended that people join us here for this webinar this evening to ask the experts, not the council member, who could give them better and clearer answers than I could. I know that one resident did ask me a couple of weeks ago, based on the back and forth that was going on with respect to staying with PCE or opting out. And they asked me, they said, what are you going to do? Not that matters, but I told them, I said, from what I know about the program and what has been explained to us so far, I said, I'm staying in the PCE program because I don't, there's no benefit, at least for me anyway, at opting out at this point. And there's the potential benefit later on down the road. And it's not going to be 6 months from now, and we don't know whether it'll be a year from now that we have the potential to see a little bit of cost savings. So for what it's worth, I'm staying in right now. But again, thank you for the comprehensive presentation and answering the questions from our residents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Lester. A couple of questions that perhaps weren't answered. A question came up about churches and how they will they be opted into the program?
Yes.
Okay. And then there's some questions about, I know that, and I think you answered this already, about low-income customers. They are eligible for certain programs through SCE. Will that change for our low-income families?
There's no change in status.
Great. Okay. All right. And then, Chris, if we hadn't done this, right, what options would residents have for electricity?
None.
Okay.
They would.
So I want to emphasize that this just gives residents one additional option, and that the how can I say this, that when the council made this decision, it was really thinking about the customers and thinking about our residents, right? Which is to have one more option, but also really to reduce the amount that they have to pay for their energy bill. That was important to us. And here was an opportunity that was presented to us to help do that. So I want to just make that clear. And then the other is to provide more options. And Chris, if I'm not mistaken, some of those options obviously are solar, wind, is that correct?
Yes, completely renewables.
And water.
Hydro, yes.
And I realize that the reality is that most people are not there yet. Perhaps they may be in the future, but certainly this gives them some additional options. But the main point I want to make is that when we thought through this and it was presented to us, is that we were really thinking first and foremost is how will this benefit our residents? And that's how it was presented to us. Certainly there's always some concern about change, and certainly residents have the right to opt out. And even if they don't opt out now, they certainly have a right to go back to Edison if they so choose, if they feel that Edison will certainly provide, will serve them better. So is there anything else, Chris, Julie, that you'd like to add? That you
I have a good question.
Give me 1 second, and I'll come back to you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
I just want Chris and Julie to just, if they can answer that question, and then we'll come back to you, okay?
I think when we keep our eye on the ball, which is reduction of the exit fees of $8.5 million per year. When those are done, that is the benefit that is being brought to this community every single year. And every year until we reach that point, it gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. So when those fees are completely paid off, that's a significant source of revenue that is brought to the community either through a reduction in their rates and or additional programs that the city can benefit from. And for me personally, that's exciting to provide that kind of a benefit to the community.
Thank you. So do you want to add anything? You're on mute.
No, I'm good. I think Chris has done a great job.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Preciado?
Chris, I know that right now people can check through the calculator to see what their estimated bill will be. Will that calculator always be available?
I see no reason we couldn't leave it on there. Certainly we can leave that on there in perpetuity.
That was all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Preciado. Any other comments from the council?
Tim, just a comment. It may have been covered earlier. I know it was asked by a couple of people, and I saw in the chat link message from the city manager's office. A couple of people had asked whether this recording of this webinar would be available later on, and Jocelyn had mentioned that the goal is to have it posted on YouTube by this weekend.
Oh, thank you, Councilmember Lester. That's helpful. Councilmember Vice Mayor Garcia.
We also have another question from, I believe it's our city office, from other residents on the chat. Can you discuss the timeline for commercial customers in the future?
Yeah, the commercial customers will be brought on next year. There was a 1-year delay. Edison is going through a revamping of their billing system. That and the timing Power, depending on your usage, sometimes it's a loser, a certain portion of the year. And so we didn't want to put them on the program during the loser portion, the loss portion of the program. So they were a little bit delayed for those two reasons.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for noting that. Go ahead, continue, sorry.
Oh, just a kudos for Director Diggs and his department from Josue. Aside from the hiccup at the beginning of the meeting, great meeting, and special thank you to Chris for his presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I noticed there was now that I pulled it up, another question from an individual. Is the Pomona Choice Program part of the time of use plan from Southern California Edison?
Again, our rates are identical, and when you look at the residential, there's two tiers. Those two tiers are the same, so there's no change at this point.
Yeah, and there was a question about Q&As, and I understand we actually put together a frequently asked questions. I believe it's available on our website, but can we just make sure that it's available to folks? Chris?
Okay.
Yeah, we did. I think we put that together shortly after it became clear.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, the frequently asked questions. So it's not something you need to recreate. It's there already. I think that perhaps maybe that individual hasn't seen it, but it is there and it is available. Okay.
And the Pomona Choice Energy link is on the city's website, right on the front page on the right there. There's the picture of that little logo. Click on that and it takes you right to the page.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
Mayor Sandoval.
Good.
So if I were to get solar right now, installed into my house, it would drop the rates just like I would any other time, right? Because I'm using the battery that's at home, and so I would only pay for whatever energy is delivered. Is there any benefit, such as if sometimes when at the end of the year, I know that it's been said that sometimes the homes generate more solar than they use?
The benefits that you would receive would stay consistent. So some portions of the year you're producing more power than you're using, and that payment for that power is consistent with what you would expect to see.
Thank you.
And Chris and Julie, if I just may suggest regarding the comment about the Q&A that's on the Pomona Choice Energy website, is maybe after going through this webinar tonight and it gets posted, it might not be a bad idea maybe to go through some of the questions that were asked during this webinar tonight that maybe are not answered on the website right now, and maybe add those to the list because clearly maybe other people might have the same questions, and I think then it would make the frequently asked questions a little bit more complete.
It's a good idea,
Yes.
Councilor. Vice Mayor Garcia?
Hi, I just had a constituent text me this, so I'm going to read it out loud for them. They didn't want to put it on the chat, but they understand that it's the same rate as Edison, the late fees, but if they are unable to pay their bill, for example, this month it was due on the 10th, but they were unable to pay it until, they're going to be unable to pay until the 27th, that's more than 14 days late. Will their electricity be cut, or will there be extra fees? That is their concern.
All of the processes that Edison is operating under don't change when it comes to the Pomona Choice Energy program being added.
There was one of the mailers or notices that came out said that if you are late on your bill past 14 days, that you automatically get put back into the Edison and get charged $249. Is that correct?
No, it is not.
I think we're gonna have to find that notice and see if there's a clarification then.
Yeah, well, we'll need to drill down on that one a little bit.
And on the COVID, there's for non-payment is a 360 days right now that they have.
Thank you.
COVID relief.
And would that apply to Pomona Choice Energy?
Yes, because it's Edison's bill.
Yes.
And, perhaps while we certainly want to have answers to every single question as best we can, we're going to learn a lot in the next few months. And I think it probably would behoove us to have something similar to this, maybe 6 months out, certainly at least 1 year from now, is just to evaluate how we're doing, and then also just get community input. It may be that people notice very little or they notice a lot, but we certainly want to hear from the public, and we want to make sure that we're here to answer questions, particularly from the experts like Chris and Julie.
We'd be more than happy to do it.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions from the council? I'm not seeing any hands. I'm not hearing anyone. So at this time, we will adjourn to a regular meeting on Monday, October 5th, 2020 via Zoom webinar due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Closed session items will be discussed at 5:30 p.m. and the open session will commence at 7 p.m. Everyone be safe and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Almost 100 questions. Great job, Chris. Good job,
Thank you.
Julie.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.